the last year, I've been playing a lot of Steamworld games. It's a series that I've just sort of forgotten about or never thought about, if I'm being honest. It seemed like I sort of missed the train when it came to Steamworld because there's just so many games in their library that kind of seem a little daunting to try to catch up on, or that I'm missing something. But on a whim, I purchased SteamWorld Quest and really enjoyed the game. This is perfect. This is a really great representation of like a linear RPG. Just a lot of fun. And that got me into other games in the series, and I was really surprised by how many turns this series takes, jumping from genre to genre, yet still providing a high quality experience. I've enjoyed almost every game from SteamWorld. Actually, I've enjoyed all of them. So when I heard about SteamWorld Build, I was incredibly excited to check it out. For one, because city builders are not typically my style, and two, I was really curious about the controls. Both of these things become such an issue when it comes to city builders, but watching this dev team achieve really great games in a lot of different genres, I thought maybe they have a chance. And thanks to the fantastic people at Thunderful Publishing, they hooked me up with the code and I was able to check this game out. So this game starts in a rather bleak place as the robots are at loss for what to do. Their world is dying. Their planet itself is actually dying, and they're not exactly sure how to handle this. But luckily, there is one hope. A little robot by the name of Astrid. She can tune in to different voices and different machines and wavelengths and whatnot to be able to communicate with past civilizations, or maybe even current civilizations. Although she alone is not enough. The team is actually guided by a sphere with an incredible collection of data. It can tell them about the past or tell them about technological advances that they're going to need and where to find them. Most of them are underground, and so they're going to have to dig. Now, I know what you're thinking. I thought this was a city builder, not another SteamWorld dig game. Oh, well, there's more. There's a lot more. For one, to set up a mine, you have to have the resources to maintain a mine. You have to have workers. You have to have a lot of things to make this whole project work. And actually, the first thing that sort of unifies this town is a train station to be specific, where you can set up different trades and things of that nature, which do become important later on in the game. As you're just starting, you're really just worrying about residents and building materials, water, food, things of that nature that are, essential for maintaining life. Although they are robots, and that made me wonder why they need food and water. Although at some point they also need hats, so I admit I do not know the inner workings of these robots. And ultimately for you, you're focusing on maintaining resources, actually bringing your numbers up as much as you can, while also balancing out what you use your resources for, and keeping your residents happy, as well as making sure that they succeed and they're able to become engineers or scientists and rich people. And all of these things matter because their satisfaction has to be at a certain level, so they're going to need certain things. Like I said, like hats. Hats become very important. Don't judge them. They need that for their confidence, as well as things like law and order and water and oil and plastics, a whole lot of things. Saloons, robots like a drink. Many people don't know that, but they gotta relax too, right? Although what became very apparent to me was city building, city planning, all of that is not easy. And you can easily make a lot of mistakes early on. One of the things that I did was, trying to expand and to try to offer as many services as possible while also furthering my technology and the advances that we could push things as far as like drilling and whatever. We were also running into the problem of space. You see, a lot of the residential areas really needed less industrial stuff and more of like the saloons or the restaurants or things like that. Most of these things really do need to be sorted out, and when you're starting, you kind of don't have that option or that ability. You probably do if you're thinking ahead, but if you're like me and you didn't, this becomes quite an issue where you're trying to figure out how to make some of these hoity-toity robots happy while they're also living next to a lumber mill and not next to, a 5-star restaurant or whatever they want. And I do think that that becomes really cool, as it just becomes another line of strategy that you're trying to figure out. And I think it really adds into replayability. I know that's one thing that I definitely focused in on, is once I played through the game once, I wanted to check it out again. It does offer 5 different maps, if I remember correctly, that you can start from, each having like their own little theme, and that in itself is really cool. Most of it is aesthetics and a lot of the stuff runs exactly the same, but you are limited in some of these maps. But the point is you're able to have a fresh look at it. Now that you know how the game runs, you can kind of figure out which is the best way to set up your town. And again, I think that that's one of the main reasons I do like some of these games, is because of that replayability. And I think that's definitely like why I like Stardew Valley, for instance, is once you play through it, then you kind of realize where you want to put certain crops and you want to put certain things. You want to get synergy going on, and that is definitely important in this game. And I do appreciate the fact that they also give you the bonuses of production and things like that when you're able to group the same industrial products and factories and things of that nature. But if I'm being honest, I would say less than halfway through this game, I really stopped caring about my residents, because where this game really became addictive to me was underground. I love the mining aspect. There's so many little intricate things to pay attention to, so many different resources to find, but even just setting up an infrastructure at all, making sure your mines are stable. Also having the proper workshops, the miners, the prospectors, even at some point guards, because yes, far enough down you will find enemies. And that just adds another layer to this that not only keeps you thinking about where to strategically put different weapons, but also just for the exploration. You're very curious on what you're going to find next and what new technology you might uncover. All of this stuff while you're setting up bridges and workshops and quarters for different people to stay in, and you want to make sure that you're balancing out all these resources so that you have enough gold to set up all the different infrastructure you're going to need. And again, I think that that's where this game really does just take hold of you. And it became a game that I would dump many hours into without really even realizing it. And when a game can do that, I just really appreciate that. There's so many times I play so many different games where I almost have to force myself to play, you know? And with this one, it was the exact opposite. As I got into exploring and balancing things out, and I got to check on my residents, I got to go back check on my mine, I want to expand here, explore here, you know, and then also thinking about, I wonder what this other map would be like. All of these things played an essential role in really keeping me hooked to this game and really enjoying it. Now, the other thing that I really have to touch on are the controls and difficulty, because this is something that I struggled with many sim builders, as it just felt like, okay, I don't know why I can't put this here, or why is this failing, why isn't this working. This game really does kind of walk you through it, and it shows you on little handy dandy diagrams as to what will help facilitate another building or another infrastructure, and that was really helpful, as well as having really easy controls to navigate. It has no business being as easy as it is, because it is incredibly accessible and welcoming to somebody who maybe found these type of games too daunting or there's too much to them. At the same time, I think veterans of these style of games are also going to find a lot to really appreciate, and just really a lot of meat on the bone with this one. And one of the main ways that they were able to thread this needle, I think, is by offering a lot when it comes to the city building aspect and the resources and the management of all of that, but also adding in a narrative that is pretty interesting, and it really makes you question a lot, and you almost want to find out more and more about this story, because again, it's almost cryptic in a way, and it becomes something that really engages you. I would say myself, I also thought that the game looked really good. Just graphically, a lot of things that maybe didn't have to have detail really did, and that kind of popped for me, especially when you have so many things happening on the screen, but you're able to zoom in really close and see how your town's doing, or the ways that your mining machines are working, and things of that nature. It just really adds another level. And for those curious about performance, I had no issues with the game at all. Even with so many things happening on screen, I never noticed a noticeable lag or a frame rate drop or anything. Although, to be fair, I usually only play in handheld. And honestly, with the Switch, that's something I really need to remember to say a lot more, that I rarely play docked in most of these games. In fact, usually when I'm getting video, that's about the first time I actually play docked. I just enjoy the handheld experience a lot more. But anyway, if I was going to give this game a number score, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed the game. It's at a really good price for everything that it offers. No issues as far as bugs or crashing or anything like that. And really good graphics for all of the components that are going on, and a very interesting and compelling story. I would definitely recommend picking this game up if you're thinking about it. It's a really good one to kind of close out the year. I know we have another one coming up here today that is going to be pretty interesting, but regardless, it's a really good game. Should check it out. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Please let me know what your thoughts are down below. Have you played this? Are you interested in it? Do you like the Steamworld series as a whole? Is it something that you're really interested in getting into, or have you been into it for a long time? Anything and everything, like I said, I'd love to hear from you. Take care, everybody. I love y'all. Bye-bye.